Hey, good morning everyone. If you saw our last video with cutting the firewood, you know we have a new tractor. So today I thought I would go through and show you the backhoe and the box blade and the forks and a little more detail on the tractor, the controls and so forth, and the issues I've found so far. So let's go take a look at it. Hello and welcome to our channel. We're glad you're here. All right, we will start with the box blade. I haven't measured it. I'm pretty sure it's at least 6 foot. He had it in the back of a S10 pickup truck and it filled the bed with the tailgate down. It did fit in the bed of our truck with the toolbox in it and the tailgate closed, so it's got to be pretty close to, if not a hair over, 6 foot. It's got 6 nice ripper teeth on it. This one's raised up, the rest of them are down. There is a bend in this bar, which I don't think is a big deal, and this 3-point pin is bent, so I'll have to get a new one of those. I'm pretty sure the farm stores sell those. It's just a category 1 3-point pin. So there's the box blade. It is, from what I've heard, one of the better ones. The cutting edge is curved on both sides and they are replaceable, and it's in good, thanks Akima, it's in good condition. It doesn't look like it's been used a whole lot. That cutting edge is pretty clean. So other than that bent support rail there and the bent pin, it's pretty good shape. Good and heavy too. Over here is our backhoe attachment. It's a Rhino 85. I have not been able to find any information on this as far as a manual or anything like that, but it's got the outriggers on it. This cradle goes underneath the tractor. This bar here goes in a pocket by the 3-point. I'll show you that when we look at the tractor. Hey, Sakima. And the front here has holes for pins. Those go in pockets underneath the loader in the center of the tractor. I'll show you where that goes as well. There's 2 hydraulic lines. There's one male line, 1 female line. This hooks in where the 3-point lift goes. So when this is hooked up, you take your 3-point arms off and the 3-point lift is inoperable because it's supplying power to the backhoe rather than the 3-point lift. Like I said, it's got the outriggers, all your standard backhoe controls. It only has a 1.5 tooth on it here. I'll have to look into maybe getting teeth for it. It does have a hydraulic leak. You can see a little puddle there underneath. I'm trying to think which one it is. I believe it is to take this arm out and it will leak down here. So there's a whole packet of hoses here that run down underneath and through, and I'm assuming where it goes under this pin here, it's probably worn through on one of those hoses, or possibly on this pin up here. So I'm gonna have to take those hoses out and find out which one is bad and get that hose replaced. But other than that, it does work. This outrigger seemed to be weak. The one on the other side would pick the tractor up. This one just kind of touched the ground and you know, up a little bit. But I didn't have the RPMs real high on the tractor either, so that might make a difference. But that is the backhoe. Looks to be in pretty good shape, other than a leak. And there's the box blade, and other than that bent arm and the bent pin, it looks to be in really good shape too. So let's go back now in the garage and take a look at the tractor itself. Well, I backed it out of the garage and put the lift up so it's hopefully better lighting and a little easier to see. I'll start with the backhoe attachment again. This bracket here and the one hanging over there on the other side, that's where the front of those rails go into and the pins go in to hold the backhoe attachment on. And then around here on the back of the tractor, this pocket right here that's underneath the drawbar, that's where that bar slides in and that holds the back of the backhoe up. Might be kind of hard to see. There's a hydraulic fitting right here, a male fitting. That's where the female plug goes for the backhoe. And then on the main hydraulics on the front of the tractor, this hose right here, hope you can see that better than I can. This hose has a male quick connect or female quick connect on it. You pop this off, and the female hose on the backhoe actually attaches to this hose. I'm not sure which way it's flowing and how it works, but that's where the backhoe attaches. This quick connect comes off and attaches to the hose, and the other hose attaches to the quick connect in the back. On the 3.0, before I forget, we also have a rear remote on this. The odd thing is, these caps, they don't reach. It doesn't make any sense. There's one on each line, and neither one of them has enough length to come around there and close off the hole. I may take these off and use this hole and put a zip tie on it here so I can bring these around and cap these. But it does have a rear remote. It's got the 3-point, the cover's bent. I'm going to have to bring these sides in so it drops down the way it should. Real nice heavy drawbar on it, swinging drawbar. The 3-point on this is, I'm going to say it's broken, but it's kind of not. It has the quick connect on it. There should be a pin here and a spring, so when you push down on this, it actually lifts this pin up, which allows, if I can get this to work in one-handed, there we go, it allows the end link to slide out. So when you back the tractor up to your implement, you can loosen this up, gives you the adjustability here to attach your pin, then you pick it up and it drops down and locks like it just did there. So this side's missing the pin and the spring, it's kind of floppy. The other side just has a bolt in it. So they're fully functional, I mean just like a regular non-adjustable lift, but I would like to replace these, because that would make it nice to back up and be able to slide these out and pin. Because if anyone's hooked up a 3-point, you know this pin goes in fine and then this pin's off by 1/2 inch. So you're either trying to jiggle the tractor around or move your brush hog or whatnot. So these would make it nice. The top link attaches here. It's in the house. There should be like a wire loop here to hang it on, which is missing. That's not a huge deal. I'm sure I can find one of those someplace or make one. The stabilizer pins or bars for the 3-point, this side is missing the lock pin that drops down in. Again, that's not a big deal. I'm sure I can find one of those about anywhere. That kind of covers the back. I've never checked to see if the brake lights work. I assume the toolbox went here. We're missing a toolbox. These 4-ways don't work, which isn't a big deal. We're not taking it on the road. I need to get new bolts for up here on the rollover bar because it's pretty sloppy, and when it's tractor idles certain RPMs, it jiggles like that. It's kind of annoying. Okay, you got your regular brakes, and it's like a regular older tractor. It's got the independent brakes each side. As you can see, this pedal falls, so I'm going to have to do some adjustment on the brakes. But being hydrostatic, you don't use them all that often. This is the treadle pedal. Push it down forward, push it down reverse. As you can see, it's pretty sloppy. So I'm going to have to do some work on that to get it not floppy and work better. This is the loader control. Pull back, the arms come up, push forward. You can see there, if you push forward, the arms go down. If you push it all the way forward, it stays there, and that's called float position. It just lets it ride on the ground. Take the stick side to side, curls the bucket up and down. Not 100% positive because I'm still getting used to it, but I believe this is curl up and this is curl down. And again, this has a float. If you push it all the way over, it just lets it float. It doesn't lock in this float, but it does float in this position. This slot here would be for a second rear remote. This tractor does have one, so this stick moving back and forth activates the rear remote. This is your PTO all the way up. PTO is all the way up. Slide this all the way forward. The PTO will come down, or not the PTO, I'm sorry, the 3-point will come down. This knob, it's kind of frozen right now. I'm going to have to get it broke loose. But you can loosen this knob up and slide it for a positive stop. So if your implement, let's say your implement works right here, you can slide this up and lock it so that every time you bring your 3-point down, it'll stop at that point, which is right where you want your implement. Most tractors do have that. This lever is the parking brake lever. It does not work. I believe you push the brakes down, pull this up, and it's supposed to lock the brakes in a down position. Like I said, that does not work. And you can see there on the dashboard, that parking light is on all the time. So I'm going to have to delve into that and figure out why it's not working and why the light is staying on. This lever here is your throttle. Farther forward you go, the higher RPM you're at. These are the hazard lights, which, like I said, don't work. This is the headlights, which do work. Some models right here will have a turn signal. Down is right turn, up is left turn. This one obviously doesn't have a turn signal, which isn't a big deal because we're not driving on the road. I haven't done it yet, but if you take this pin out on each side, and I believe you roll this forward, it unlatches the bucket. And you can use the hydraulics to lift the bucket up off these pins, and then you can kind of see here, there's a long, huge amount of hydraulic line that goes to this loader. This rod here will slide forward over this pin and act like a kickstand on the ground. And you can back out of the loader, and then when you want to reload it, you pull in, and this pin will hit here, and ride up on this until it locks back into this position, and then you can use the hydraulics. They quick connect right here. You can take these 4 lines off, and that'll take your loader off. You can use, once you hook the lines back up, you can use the hydraulics to sit it back down on here, latch it, and pin it. So whenever we take it off, I'll do a video on that to show how that's done. Let's see. Do have a broken hood here we need to get fixed. Got a little 3-cylinder diesel. It's a Cibura diesel, I believe. I'm not positive on the displacement of it, but these side covers are pretty nice. There's just a little latch right here. Pull out on the cover and lift it up. There's a pin down here, and there's one down in the back that's missing. You can just pop that off and take either side cover off to get access to the engine. The oil filter is down there, and it doesn't look like it's been changed in forever. So I'm definitely going to do a filter change on this very soon. Radiator in the front, hydrostatic cooler, battery. Seems to be a little small. When it goes, we'll definitely put a larger battery in it. This side over here, there's the hydrostatic transmission filter. 4-wheel drive axle. I don't think I mentioned it was 4-wheel drive in the video yesterday. Controls on this side, you've got your clutch. If you push the clutch in, the tractor will stop like a regular geared transmission. And if you push the clutch in, you can engage the PTOs. Up on the dashboard, we've got an hour meter, fuel gauge, which is off a little. I think 3/4 is full. Over here is a temperature gauge. This switch is cruise control. I do not know how or if it even works. Like I said, I haven't had a tractor that long yet to figure that out. Of course, it came with no manuals and no paperwork, so I've ordered a operator's manual and a service manual off of eBay. But like I said, that is cruise control for the hydrostatic. It's got tilt wheel on it, but that's all it does. It's got a latch lever here that moves up and down a little bit, but it won't latch. So that's something I'm going to have to look into, because I'm imagining right about there would be where I want the wheel, and it's up here all the time. So that's got something that needs to be worked on. The seat, this doesn't want to turn. Need to work on that. That's the spring tension. This is like a cushioned seat that rides up and down, which is really nice. So that needs to be worked on so I can tighten it up a little bit, because it does seem to drop a little too much. This knob down here is how fast your 3 points drop. So if you loosen this up all the way, your implement's just going to bang to the ground, which you might want for like a blade or the box blade, so it gets a little bite. But let's say a brush hog, you're not going to want it to slam to the ground, so you can tighten this up, which will let it drop at a slower rate. On this fender, we've got 4 controls. This is, like I said, hydrostatic, and it's 3 range. As you can see, there's 1 label left on this tractor. The rest of them have peeled off. So fortunately, there's been other videos and other information so I could figure out what these are and how they work. But the range, right now, it is in 2. It has 3 ranges. All the way in the front is range number 2. Right in the middle is range number 1. And all the way up is range number 3. In between the 3 ranges is neutral. So to start the tractor, you have to be either here in neutral or here in neutral. So that's high range, neutral, lowest range, neutral, mid-range. Normally run it in mid-range. I suppose if I'm doing loader work or maybe running the rototiller or something, we'll probably run it in the low range here. But to start it, it needs to be in neutral. This is the mid PTO. It does have a PTO under the belly of the tractor. Show you where it's at here. Yeah, hanging off the bottom of the transmission. Right here is the mid PTO shaft. It still has the like rubber cap on it, so it's never been used. That would be if we had like a belly mower under here. You could hook that up and run that. I believe this runs at 2,000 RPMs, but that's the mid PTO. And then this is your rear PTO, which of course is just your standard shaft back here. That runs at 540 RPM, which is pretty much standard. And this lever here is 4-wheel drive. All the way in front, it's 4-wheel drive. All the way in the back, it's 2-wheel drive. I've just been running a 4-wheel since it's snowy out. And down here on the floor is a differential lock. Kick this down with your heel, it locks the rear differential so both rear wheels are pulling at one time instead of just one. So I think that pretty much covers everything on this tractor, at least that I know right now. There is another hydraulic filter somewhere that I'm not sure. It's a long, bigger filter. I'm gonna have to find that, because when I look up a filter kit for this, it shows that hydrostatic filter on the other side, the oil filter. There's 2 air filters. It's got a outside regular paper filter, and then it also has a secondary inner filter, which as you can see is bad, and this thing is pretty dusty. So I definitely need to get a new air filter, both filters for it, inner and outer. And it shows a fuel filter, which we can't see it right now, but right here is the top of the fuel filter. There's like a plastic or glass bowl underneath, like a separator bowl, and the filter cartridge goes up in that bowl. Like I said before, the oil filter is buried back in this corner. And then it shows a hydraulic filter, probably about the size of this power steering fluid tank. It's a pretty big filter. So it's kind of strange I haven't found it yet, but it's got to be up underneath there. Oh, just now found it. There it is, hanging down. Hydraulic filter. So I need to get a full filter kit for this and get all the fluids and filters changed, because from the looks of the oil, it hasn't been done in a long time. And the last thing we want to do is blow up a new to us tractor. Let's see, I think it had like 2,900 hours on it. Yeah, 2932. I think it had 2930 when we bought it, so we put about 2 hours on it already. Working good for us so far. I said, if anyone has one of these and is able to answer any of the questions I don't know, like how the cruise control works, or if they've had a problem with their parking brake and how it works, I mean, I'm sure I can figure it out, but it might take me a little while. Now, one other thing I've noticed is this lift arm, which is the adjustable arm for leveling or skewing your implement. As you can see, it's got a pretty good bend in it. So I'm not sure if I can put that in the press and straighten it back out, or if I'm going to have to buy another one of those. But all in all, it's got almost 3,000 hours on it, so it's not going to be perfect, but it does run good, and it seems to have pretty good lifting power and pushing power. But once again, I really haven't used it much at all. Just did the firewood with it the other day, and we did move around bale. So I will, like I said, I talked about the pallet forks. I will take you back up front and show you the pallet forks. I forgot to do that while I was up there. We were able to use the pallet forks to pick up a round bale and move it out for the horses. So that means for sure these tires have got to be loaded. I don't know if they have beet juice or calcium or alcohol or what they've got in them, but we had that round bale probably, let me lower the lower down here. I would guess we had the round bale that high off the ground, not straight up in the air like that, obviously leaning out to the front, but to have that bale that high to get it over the feeder rail, there's no way these tires cannot be loaded. The previous owner didn't know for sure if they were loaded or not, because he had only had the tractor for about a year. So there's where we're at on this. Like I said, any questions or comments on what I don't know about it is definitely appreciated. So we'll take you up front and show you those pallet forks and go from there. Actually, before we go up there, one other thing I wanted to show you, one other problem I have. On the dash here, we've seen the parking brake light, and these other two lights are to have the PTO to let you know they're turned on. And down here, they don't show up right now, but maybe with the key on. Yeah, there's a 540 and a 600. So when the PTO is on, when you're at the proper RPM, that 540 light will come on, and if you go over RPM, the 600 light will come on. So that's a nice feature. And then on this side, we've got a battery light, an oil pressure light, and what should be a glow plug light. So when I turn this key on, right now that glow plug light should be on. And then to start this, like I said, you need to be in neutral on the stick, and you have to take the key, push the key in, and turn it. And right there, for sure, the glow plugs should be on. And that is not lighting up. But when I go to crank it, you can see it did light up there momentarily. So this doesn't start the greatest when it's cold out, but it does start. So that's something else I'm going to have to look into, is why that glow plug light's not coming on when it should. We are parking this in the garage, so that probably helps. It's not sitting out in the cold. But let me put this away and we'll go up and look at those pallet forks. Yeah, our last item then is these pallet forks. One of them is underneath this skid and tarp. This is the round bales storage here. So you got the two forks, and they just mount on this bar. I think it's like a 1-inch round bar. The 3 hooks on the back of the top of the bucket. You tip the bucket forward, put those hooks underneath there and pick this up, and then tilt the bucket forward, and the bottom of the bucket sits right about here on the forks. So you actually have the bucket kind of tipped forward to keep the forks level. We were able to use these and just basically fork right underneath one of the round bales, the one that was sitting right here as a matter of fact, fork underneath it and picked it right up. It had no problem, it didn't struggle at all. These are probably 800 to 1,000 pound bales. Picked it right up, backed up, brought it around, and Went through this gate here and took it out there where the horses are at. Hope you can see around that bale we have got one of those, it's a PVC round bale feeder, and it was able to pick it up, lift it over top of that bale feeder, and then I slowly tipped the forks forward and it just dropped right inside that ring. So this is the first year we've tried one of those feeder rings. The horses tend to make a mess with the round bales. These are only string wrapped, they're not bale wrapped, so they can kind of tear them apart pretty good. And once again, I'm not sure how clear that is, but there's a pretty good ring of hay around the outside of that they tear out. If we didn't have that ring around there, they end up getting in there, mercury will lay down in it and eat, and of course then standing in it they poop in it and then they won't eat it. So that ring seems to keep them out of the main part of the bale. They can stand outside the ring and eat it. So here we go again. A tractor video has digressed into a look at the horses video. So that shows the tractor and all the implements we got with it. And I'm gonna zoom in a little bit too much there. There we go. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Said if anyone has one of these TC33D tractors, I'd appreciate any information you have. I do have a service manual and an owner's manual ordered, so when they get here, hopefully that'll help me out. Like I said, I've got that glow plug issue, I've got the parking brake issue, and the lighting issue, which isn't a big deal, and the unknown cruise control. I don't know if it works, how it works, or any of that. So we'll keep you updated as I do those repairs. We'll post videos on those, and just kind of keep it going from there. Next time we do a round bale, we'll film that as well, because that worked pretty nice actually. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Any questions or comments, of course, you can put them down below. Please subscribe and give us a thumbs up. And if you do subscribe, click that little bell and it will give you notifications the next time we post a video. Thanks for watching and have a good day.